Have you ever opened your email and realized your entire business seems to be running out of your inbox? Everything seems to end up in the inbox. Action items, project discussions, meeting notes, approvals, status updates, questions, announcements, file sharing, and decision-making. And somehow, you're expected to keep track of all of it. That is asking a whole lot from one poor little inbox. Email is not the villain here. It is still useful, and it is still one of the best ways to send a message to somebody outside your organization. The problem is that we keep handing email jobs it was never designed to do, and then we act surprised when the inbox turns into a junk drawer with a search box. Raise your hand if deep down you really hate email. I'm Annie Rind, and you've found the 1001 Business Problems Solved with Microsoft Teams podcast. 6 or 8 minutes of your Monday morning commute is all I ask of you. Tune in, listen up, and arrive at the office with another solution in your hip pocket. No hour-long rambles here. Anyway, back to email. Email is basically digital mail. It was built to deliver messages between people, and when we use it that way, it does a perfectly good job. It's good for sending information, receiving information, and communicating with people who are not working inside your shared systems. That is a valuable job. It just is not every job. Think of email like a pickup truck. A pickup truck is wonderful when you need to haul lumber, feed, tools, or a stack of boxes. But if you start using that same truck as your school bus, your race car, your bulldozer, and your moving office, sooner or later you are going to be disappointed with the truck. That is what a lot of businesses are doing with email. They are trying to make one tool carry the entire operation. Overusing email starts innocently enough. Somebody says, "We'll just send an email." Then come a few replies. Then reply to all. Then a forwarded version. Then somebody gets left off, somebody joins late, somebody cannot find the attachment, and somebody responds to an older thread because that was the one they happened to have open. Before long, nobody is quite sure which version is current. At that point, the conversation has become the system. And conversations make terrible systems when the work actually needs a home, a record, and a little bit of structure. A business cannot run efficiently when the only record of work is buried inside thousands of emails inside of dozens or hundreds of inboxes. Email creates copies, not context. Every email, reply, forward, and attachment can create another copy, and every mailbox becomes another little silo. That is where the confusion starts. One person has this version. Another person has that version. Someone else has the forwarded version with the extra comment buried halfway down the thread. The moment a new email appears, everything before it becomes a little less trustworthy. Now compare that to Microsoft Teams. Teams gives the conversation one shared place to live. One discussion, one current version, and one location where everyone can see what has happened so far. When used well, Teams eliminates the need to drag emails into folders just to be safe. And this matters even more with Copilot. Copilot cannot reason over emails that do not belong to you. It absolutely loves Teams and conversations that are conducted in Teams. If a conversation contains useful subject matter that the whole team should be able to learn from later, that conversation belongs in a Teams channel, not scattered across private inboxes. Here's another revelation. Email was not meant to be your action item list either. A lot of people use their inbox as a task manager, even if they would never call it that. Unread means not done. Flagged means maybe important. Folders mean someday. Search means, Lord, I hope I can find it again. That might feel manageable for a little while, right up until tomorrow drops another 100 messages on top of your so-called task list. Now your work is not organized by importance, project, owner, or due date. It is organized by whatever arrived most recently, which is about the worst project management method anybody could invent. Email is often a communication system pretending to manage the work. Microsoft Planner was built for this job. Tasks can have owners, due dates, status, notes, progress, and visibility. You can look at the work without digging through 3 weeks of unrelated messages. One of our first recommendations to almost every organization is create a goal of eliminating email entirely for internal collaboration except in rare instances. Not because email is evil. It is not. Email is just being asked to do too much, and the result is always wasted time, more oversights, and a whole lot of frustrated employees. Most internal communication belongs in Teams. Most task tracking belongs in Planner. Most documents belong in SharePoint. Most meetings belong on the calendar. When the work goes where it belongs, email has less work to do, and the inbox gets calmer almost immediately. And who would not like that? Before someone says they now have to check multiple apps instead of one inbox, remember that Microsoft Teams was designed to be the hub for the tools your office uses to keep things working. You can pin everything I've mentioned into the appropriate Teams site in a manner that nobody has to go anywhere except for Teams to do their work. There's a task in Planner. Open it inside your Teams site. There's an appointment on the group calendar. Open it in Teams. Ditto for messages, files, and most of the daily work that does not belong buried in an inbox. There's a reason email ended up with so many jobs. Back in the 80s and 90s, for a lot of businesses, the digital office was basically email, a word processor, a spreadsheet, and maybe a calendar. So people used email to fill the gaps. No simple task system? Email the task. No shared project space? Email the update. No easy shared file location? Email the attachment. That made sense at the time. Folks were not being silly. They were using the tool they had. The question is no longer, can email handle this? Of course it can, if we force it to. The better question is, does this belong in email anymore? I would argue that it rarely does. When work moves out of scattered inboxes and into Teams, a few things change right away. I'll rip through just a few right now. Knowledge stays visible. New employees can catch up. Conversations become searchable. Context is preserved. Decisions stay attached to the work. Files stay connected to the discussion. Action items stay connected to the project instead of disappearing into somebody's mailbox. That is a much bigger shift than it may sound like at first. Work stops being personal knowledge and starts becoming institutional. Everyone can find things, not just the employee with the most years at the company. That is one of the biggest changes organizations make when they move from email-centered work to team-centered work. They stop relying on everybody to remember where things are, and they start building a place where the work itself can explain what happened. The goal is not to organize chaos more efficiently. The goal is to stop creating so much unnecessary chaos in the first place. That's it for this week once again. I hope you found it useful and that you send it to your business besties. This is Annie signing off. I'll see you next week.